Today is video 8 of the 90-day astral projection challenge, directly coming from this book right here, Mastering Astral Projection, 90-Day Guide to Out-of-Body Experience. Now for day 8, that means we are in week 2. So for week 1, you chose your own personal affirmation, where you took the one from the book and you did your morning affirmation every day for a week, and then you did a personal nighttime affirmation every day for a week. Now, on day 8, you're going to be choosing a new affirmation to do for an entire week. So you're going to be doing this one in the morning as well for an entire week, and then you're going to choose a nighttime affirmation too. And you'll be saying that nightly for a week. Now, I'm going to be following from the book as well what they tell you to say, but you can also do your own personal affirmation. You can always keep the one that you did on week 1 if you want to keep it, but the book does say if you want to, you can change it up. So I'm going to read the exact example from the book here. So for in the morning affirmation from the book for day 8, it says, I seek to explore higher levels of consciousness. I communicate this desire to all levels of my mind and body. So that's what you'll want to say in the morning. And then at night, and you want to say that morning one again throughout your day, every single day for the next week. You want to say it just randomly throughout different parts of your day. And then for the nighttime affirmation from the book, it says, my dream memory continues to develop. Scene after scene returns to me each time I awaken. The more I practice writing key words, the more powerful and clear my dream memory becomes. Now that one's a little bit longer, so you can shorten that up however you'd like, or again, create your own affirmation. That one does seem a little bit long. Now, after you've chosen your affirmations for the week, now you're going to start doing the exercises just like week 1. Now you want to start off again with a 5-minute entire body relaxation. So however you've chosen to do that from now, you're going to do that for 5 minutes. You're going to relax your entire body. Now after you do that, for week 1, you switch to mindful breathing at this point. Now you're still doing a breathing technique on day 8, but it's not just a mindful breathing. That kind of got you aware of your breath and how to focus on it. But now it's actually teaching you, this day 8 is how to expand your breath, and it's actually a completely different breathing exercise. So the way that the exercise works is this. You start off with just a few natural, normal breaths. You just kind of focus yourself. You do a minute or 2 of just mindful breathing. Just kind of focus yourself here. After you do that minute of just natural breathing, this is when the exercise starts. So you do 6 to 12 breaths. And each breath, before you breathe in, you go 1, and you take a deep breath in, and then you exhale slowly as well. Then you take a slightly deeper breath when you say 2. So then you go 2, and as you take a deep breath, your in-breath is a slightly deeper than that first breath you took. And you do that for 6 to 12 breaths. So you're just slowly taking a deeper and deeper breath every single time you take a new breath in. So you go 1 and you count all the way to 6 or all the way to 12, wherever you're comfortable at. You choose your own number there, and you just count, and you go 1 on your in-breath, and you release, and you go 2, and on the 2 you try to take a little bit of a deeper breath, and you just do that every single time. Now what will happen is by the time you get to 6 or 10, you're going to find that you're at a natural breathing point to where you don't want to overextend yourself or try to hurt yourself from taking in huge deep breaths. You don't want to push yourself too hard on this. Just take naturally deeper breaths until you get to a point to where you feel like this is the point that your breath is at. Everybody's going to be different. It's kind of hard to explain what this point is or what this is for, the individual person. But you don't want to be straining yourself. Whatever feels comfortable, once you get to a deeper breath, you then want to do an additional 6 to 12 breaths at that breath. So you start off with doing 6 to 12 breaths. Each breath is going to be deeper than the last one. Then you eventually are going to find a rhythm that very well suits whatever you're comfortable with. You'll find a rhythm that suits a deep breath. Once you find that deep breath that feels good for you, that's not too deep to where it's straining you, but it is a deeper breath than when you started, you then do another 6 to 12 breaths at that exact breath that you found there. I hope that tracked right there. I'll try to describe that in the description box as well if you got lost. Or leave a comment in the comment section if you have a question about this part of the video. Now, after you've done the additional 6 to 12 breaths on maintaining your deep breath, you then do another 6 to 12 breaths, and each breath you do that same when you say 1, you take a breath in, but this time you do the reverse. You do a shallower breath than the deeper one. So you go 1 and you still take a deep breath, but you take a smaller or a slightly shallower breath. You then take a second in and you go 2, and you still take an even smaller breath. So you're just bringing that deep breath you had back down to smaller and smaller breaths. And then after you get to about 6 to 12 of bringing your breath back down, you then want to do about 1 minute to 2 of just mindful breathing. Just notice to see if your breathing has become more deeper and natural than when you started. That's all you're trying to do at this process here. Just take naturally deep breaths. And now after you've done that breathing process, you can go back and watch videos 4, 5, and 6 about stimulating the lower half of the energy body through the toes and the feet. Now on day 8, it says these are optional exercises. It's completely optional if you want to do on day 8, if you want to start with your toes, feet, your legs, if you want to do all those energy works that we talked about in the previous videos, you can go ahead and do each one of those. But again, for day 8, that's just optional. So you don't have to necessarily do the stimulating the lower half of the energy body. It also gives you optional to do the leg bouncing. So when you did that sponging technique after you've stimulated the legs and the toes, it then had you do a few minutes of just a bouncing, that sponging technique that I've always talked about in these videos. It had you do that in both legs, and then it had you split the awareness. Again, that's optional, but you can keep doing this energy work if you like it, or if you're somewhat of a natural at it, keep up at it. But I am not going to be doing the optional part of this. I'm just going to stick to what the book tells you to do. Now, after it says those are optional, the part that's not optional is now you're going to try to stimulate the upper half of your body, or the different parts of your upper energy body. And you're going to start with your fingers and your hands for day 8. Now, what you're doing is you're going to do a brushing technique. Again, we've already gone over all this. You're doing a brushing technique on each finger. So you're going to start off on each individual finger, and you'll go from the knuckle of the finger and all the way down from the knuckle to the tip. You want to do a brushing technique. You want to feel as if you're just brushing up and down on that knuckle to the tip of your finger. You do that for every single finger individually. Then you want to act as if you're doing a brushing technique across all tops of your fingers, from left to right, just back and forth from the tops of your fingers. You do that on one hand, and then you do that on the other hand. So you've individually stimulated every finger, and then you've, on one, closed your fingers together and have focused on just brushing all the way across your fingers side to side like this. And then you do that same technique on your left hand. Then you flip your hands over and you do the single brushing again. You act as if you're brushing from your finger all the way down to where your knuckle meets right here. And you're just doing that similar brushing. You're stimulating the palms now. After you do individual fingers on the palms, you're then going to do a brushing technique on the palms that starts from the tip of your palm all the way down to where your wrist meets. So you're just kind of brushing up and back on there like this. You're doing a brushing sensation on your right hand, and then you're flipping your left hand over again. You're doing that same brushing sensation on the left hand as well. You're just brushing from the tip of your finger all the way to your wrist. Then after you do the brushing on your fingers and your hands, you then do that sponging technique on your right hand and the left hand individually, and then you split your awareness and you do that sponging technique on both your right and left hand for 1 to 2 minutes. Again, you're just starting from the sponging technique, you're just starting from the tip of your fingers, and you're just drawing that awareness all the way through your hand, all the way to right where your wrist is meeting your hand. So, and then you want to split the awareness after you do it individually, and you want to do it on both of your hands at the same time. Just continually bring your awareness from the tip of your fingers to your wrist, back and forth, like you're sponging out your hand. And as always, remember, this shit is so easy, you can do it in your sleep.